Imagine, what could lead seemingly ordinary people to commit such heinous acts of violence? Let us take you back to the summer of 1969. A time of love, peace, and music was about to be interrupted by a wave of terror. A group of seemingly average individuals, under the command of a man named Charles Manson, would shock the world with their unthinkable actions. They were not hardened criminals, nor were they visibly disturbed. They were your neighbors, your friends, maybe even your family. Yet, they were on the brink of committing some of the most brutal murders the world had ever seen. Society was left reeling, unable to comprehend how such darkness could lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. So how did this happen? How did these ordinary folks become cold-blooded killers? Who was the puppet master pulling their strings? This, my friends, is the chilling tale of the Manson family murders. At the heart of this horror story, we find a man named Charles Manson. Born to a teenage mother and an absentee father, Manson's early life was a revolving door of correctional facilities and reform schools. Yet, it was not his troubled upbringing that made him infamous, but his uncanny ability to manipulate and control those around him. With an eerie charisma, Manson was a puppet master in a macabre performance that would shock the world. In the late 60s, Manson moved to San Francisco, a city buzzing with counterculture and a desire for change. He began to use his manipulative skills, honed from years of surviving in the underbelly of society, to gather a following. These followers, mostly young, impressionable women, were drawn to Manson's promises of love, acceptance, and a utopian future. As Manson's influence grew, so did his family. They lived together in a deserted ranch, isolated from society, where Manson's teachings went unquestioned. He exploited their vulnerabilities, manipulated their fears, and twisted their perceptions until they were entirely under his control. The Manson family was born. Manson's ability to manipulate was not limited to his followers. He played the media, the courts, and even other criminals like a grand piano, crafting a narrative that placed him at the center of a twisted and fatal story. He used his followers as pawns in his deadly game, convincing them to commit heinous acts in the name of a prophesied apocalyptic race war he called Helter Skelter. But Manson's reign was not about prophecy or war. It was about control. He pulled the strings and his followers danced to his tune. He used fear and confusion to keep them in line, ensuring they saw him not as a man, but as a messiah. And thus the stage was set for the appalling events that would follow. An unlikely group of individuals, bound together by a twisted sense of loyalty and devotion. This was the Manson family, a collection of misfits and outcasts, lured into the web of Charles Manson's charismatic madness. The Manson family, as they were known, was not a typical family. Its members were not bound by blood, but by shared beliefs and the hypnotic influence of Manson himself. Each member had a story, a journey that led them to the doorstep of the Spahn Ranch, the infamous headquarters of the Manson family. There was Charles Tex Watson, a small-town boy turned ruthless enforcer who traded his Texan charm for a life of crime under Manson's command. Then there was Susan Atkins, a former topless dancer with a troubled past, who found a perverse sense of belonging within the family. Patricia Krenwinkel, a one-time secretary, who abandoned her mundane existence for the thrill of Manson's anarchistic vision. And Leslie Van Houten, the youngest member, who sought refuge in the family after a series of personal tragedies. Each of them, and the others who filled the ranks, were drawn to Manson's promise of a utopia, a world free from the constraints of society. They found in him a father figure, a guru, a messiah. But beneath the veneer of communal living and pseudo-spiritual teachings lay a darker reality. The Manson family was not a haven of peace and love, but a breeding ground for manipulation, abuse, and ultimately, murder. The dynamics within the group were disturbing. Manson employed techniques of control and domination, breaking down individual identities and fostering a blind allegiance to his cause. He exploited their vulnerabilities, fed on their insecurities, and manipulated them into carrying out his violent fantasies. In the end, it was this twisted sense of loyalty and devotion that would lead the Manson family down a path of unimaginable horror. United under Manson's influence, they embarked on a path of unparalleled destruction. In the summer of 1969, the Manson family began a chilling spree of violence. A wave of terror washed over Los Angeles in the heat of those months, as the Manson family, under the influence of their enigmatic leader, embarked on a horrifying murder spree. Over a span of 5 weeks, 9 lives were brutally snuffed out. Each murder was a chilling tableau of violence and madness that defied comprehension. The victims were chosen at random, their only fault being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Charles Manson, the puppet master, had unleashed his followers on an unsuspecting city, turning the dreamy summer into a nightmare. Among the victims were 5 people who were savagely murdered in the home of actress Sharon Tate on August 9th. Tate herself, 8 months pregnant, was among the victims. The next night, the Manson family struck again, killing Lino and Rosemary LaBianca in their Los Feliz home. The gruesome details of the crimes sent shockwaves through the country as the word pig was found scrawled in blood at the crime scenes. The brutality and randomness of these crimes left the City of Angels in a state of fear and uncertainty. The Manson family, with their wild eyes and unwavering devotion to their leader, had brought chaos and bloodshed to the idyllic Californian summer. The crimes were not driven by personal animosity or financial gain, but by the twisted ideology of a man who believed he was ushering in an apocalyptic race, war termed helter-skelter. As the investigations unfolded, the true scale of the Manson family's reign of terror became apparent. The nation watched in horror not just at the brutality of the crimes, but at the realization of how easily impressionable minds could be manipulated into committing such atrocities. The Manson family murders serve as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary individuals. The nation watched in horror as the gruesome details unfolded. In the wake of such monstrous acts, society was left grappling with the unimaginable. A pall of fear and confusion hung over the entire nation. The Manson family murders had shaken the core of American society, and the ripples of this atrocity were felt far and wide. In the immediate aftermath of the murders, a frenzied manhunt ensued. Law enforcement agencies were under intense pressure to bring the culprits to justice. The investigation that followed was as complex as it was chilling. Evidence was meticulously gathered, leads were doggedly pursued, and eventually, the trail led to the Manson family. The trial that ensued was one of the most sensational of the 20th century. The courtroom was a theater of the grotesque, with Manson and his followers often disrupting proceedings with their bizarre and unsettling behavior. The world watched in morbid fascination as the curtain was lifted on the dark underbelly of the Manson family. At the heart of the public's reaction was a collective sense of shock and disbelief. The sheer brutality of the crimes, the senseless violence, and the twisted ideology that fueled them was beyond comprehension. The Manson family murders were not just a crime story. They were a dark mirror held up to society, forcing us to confront the monsters that can lurk beneath the veneer of normality. The public's reaction was also shaped by the media coverage of the event. The Manson family murders were a media sensation, with newspapers and television networks around the world covering every twist and turn of the case. This media frenzy, in turn, amplified the sense of horror and fascination that the public felt towards the case. In the end, the Manson family was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. But the story didn't end there. The echoes of these crimes have reverberated through the decades, shaping our cultural and societal understanding of evil and violence. The scars of these atrocious acts would forever mar the face of American society. In retrospect, the Manson family murders serve as a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity. They expose the chilling fact that even the most ordinary among us can be driven to commit heinous acts under the spell of charismatic and manipulative individuals. These events have left an indelible mark on society. They've forced us to confront the reality that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places, hidden behind the veneer of communal living and spiritual enlightenment. The Manson family murders were not just acts of violence, but also a brutal betrayal of trust, exploiting the vulnerability of those who were simply seeking belonging and purpose. The lessons we can glean from this tragedy are many. The most evident, perhaps, is the danger of blind obedience and the importance of questioning authority, no matter how persuasive or appealing it might seem. The Manson family members were not inherently evil. They were misguided individuals, led astray by a man who knew how to exploit their insecurities and desires. Moreover, this tragedy underscores the importance of education and awareness about the tactics employed by cult leaders to manipulate and control their followers. Recognizing these tactics can empower individuals to resist such influence and make informed decisions. The Manson family murders also highlight the importance of vigilance within our communities. We need to look out for each other, to question when things don't seem right, and to intervene when necessary. It's our collective responsibility to ensure that such a tragedy never repeats itself. Finally, these events have shaped our understanding of the criminal justice system. They've demonstrated the necessity for diligence in investigation and prosecution, and the importance of victims' rights in the process. As we remember the victims of these horrific crimes, let us never forget the lessons they have taught us. Let's remember Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, Jay Sebring, and Stephen Parent, not merely as victims, but as reminders of our duty to protect each other from the darkness that can sometimes dwell among us. In the end, the Manson family murders remain an enduring symbol of the darkness that can lurk within the human soul. A chilling reminder of the lengths to which a manipulated mind can go. This tale of horror, spun out over 5 weeks of 1969, shook the world to its core and forever etched a grim chapter in the annals of true crime. Charles Manson, the puppet master, pulled the strings of his unholy family, leading them down a path of unimaginable terror. The 9 lives claimed in this reign of terror were not just mere numbers, but individuals, each with their own stories, dreams, and families. The infamous Tate-LaBianca murders were but a part of this horrific spree, a dark testament to the power of manipulation and the susceptibility of the human psyche. The aftermath of these monstrous acts rippled far beyond the immediate victims and their families. It cast a long, dark shadow over an entire nation, altering perceptions, inciting fear, and forever changing the cultural landscape. As we delve deeper into the annals of history, it's crucial to remember the victims, their lives cut tragically short. Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, Stephen Parent, Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. Their names and memories must never be overshadowed by the heinous acts that ended their lives. The Manson family murders, while a grim tale, offer us important lessons. They remind us of the importance of critical thinking, the dangers of blind faith, and the profound impact our actions can have on others. They serve as a stark warning of the darkness that can exist within our society and the necessity of vigilance, empathy, and understanding in preventing such atrocities in the future. In exploring these dark corners of our past, we arm ourselves with knowledge. Knowledge that can help us recognize the signs of manipulation, understand the depths of human vulnerability, and ultimately protect ourselves and those around us. As we part ways, remember, knowledge is power. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe.